Well, today we're highlighting another film from this year's 44th Denver Film Festival. Student-made documentary DocumentED tackles some of the biggest social issues Colorado is facing. Well, I chatted with teacher and director Alan Dominguez about the film process and the joys of watching his students fall in love with film.
We're all film junkies around here, so this is exciting, not just for you, but for us as well. What is DocumentED about?
So DocumentED is a 20-minute short documentary that I made actually with the help of some of my high school students. I teach film production at CEC Early College, which is located in North Denver. And we have a predominantly Latinx student body, and many of our students are also undocumented themselves or have many document issues among their friends and family. So at the time I started the film in 2017, 2018, Colorado actually had the highest number of folks living in sanctuary, meaning they were living in churches to avoid deportation. Had the highest number of folks living in sanctuary anywhere in the nation, which was, I thought, unusual because the proximity of Colorado to the border it's not like we're a border state. We're not like California or Texas or Arizona. So I thought that was an unusual feature that was happening in our backyard. And so I decided to document that. And the idea was for the students actually to take part in the documenting process and realize that they're actually doing this documentation of folks who were living parallel lives in a lot of ways. Not exactly the same, but at the same time, they were able to see reflections of themselves in the filmmaking process. And we decided to document the process along the way, kind of a meta approach to filmmaking.
Of course, and that is such an interesting take, and I'm sure the students learned a lot. With that, why do you think you're so passionate when it comes to involving young storytellers and really finding that talent that's there?
The most important part, I think, to me is just watching them be excited about filmmaking. I mean, as we get older, the Mexican filmmaker Guillermo del Toro says that after the age of 10, we all slowly transform into these boring adults. And when we're young, we're still young and we're fresh and we have the world open to us. And I think putting students, especially students of color, behind the camera and really putting them in a position where they're able to tell their own stories and really take that ownership, I think is one of the most powerful parts about not only being a teacher, but also being a storyteller.
Yeah, and I think it's so great that you've been able to be that resource for them, because I think everyone has a story. They just need maybe somebody to say, let's do this. Let's talk about the filming process. I'm sure there were high moments, low moments, a little bit of everything. What was that like, and the entire process, and what made it unique for you?
You know, the whole process was entirely unique because it's long. It's a long process. It did not happen overnight. And documentary film is like that. It's always a slow kind of a slog, and it doesn't feel sometimes like this isn't really a movie. Doesn't feel like a story. And then when you're able to reach a critical mass of gathering footage, you realize that when you start crafting a story in the editing process, that's when the magic kind of happens. So that's always kind of the usual routine as far as nonfiction storytelling is concerned. What made this one unique was that I was involving so many students. I mean, there was a core of 7 or 8 students that were around. Almost not everybody was around every time, but they were around for most of the shoots that we did, and that was unique because they were also learning as we went. So I was trying to balance the relationships as a filmmaker with the participants, and then I was also the teacher, and so I was wearing a lot of different hats in a very short amount of time on our shoots. And that was a lot of fun. It was challenging, but at the same time, it was a lot of fun. And again, the students just have that shine in their eyes when it comes to storytelling. They're the ones who are behind the camera. They're the ones talking with professionals, and ultimately the ones in charge of the action.
Yeah, it's hands-on experience. All right, let's take a look at the trailer of DocumentED.
cuida mucho a los niños. Si yo no regreso, haga lo que se tiene que hacer.
Porque yo si regreso a mi país, a mí me van a matar. Y hoy no solo depende de mí, porque si yo regreso a mi país, también mis hijos se van conmigo. Y también a mis hijos los mataría.
Alan, what do you think was a big highlight during the process of the filming?
I think the big highlight during the filming process was just the fact that we were able to finally see folks in their natural environments, that we were able to see folks who were we only heard about in the news, we only read about in the newspapers or saw them on TV, and then they were real life characters in front of us, and that always is kind of a magical moment. Whether you were doing this for the first time or whether you've been doing this for a long time, I mean, it is always magical when you see people for the first time in the flesh and realize that there is a real human face to this.
Absolutely. Okay, and I have one final question for you. Throughout this exciting journey, what do you hope the students learned most?
I think I wanted them to learn mostly the magic of storytelling and the magic that it is when you're able to tell your own story. I don't think there's anything more powerful than that. Especially from young people who sometimes don't have the access to the filmmaking tools, whether it's cameras or whether it's computers or editing software. I really wanted them to feel what it's like to not only tell a story, but to tell a story that is based in their reality. And I just don't think there's too much more powerful than that.
The Denver Film Festival is back with 233 features, short films, and more. It's happening November 3rd through the 14th with a full slate of in-person screenings, red carpets, special presentations, as well as a robust offering of virtual screenings. Get your tickets at denverfilm.org.